Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. It's time now to review headlines of today's newspapers. And of course, I'll let Steve here take the lead.
Absolutely, Sheito. We'll start the newspaper review, as always, with this day on Saturday, where the lead story says, Jonathan, with smooth power transition, Nigeria fit to continue leading Africa's democracy. And the writer here says, elections are over, and so we must move forward, former president tells politicians. I mean, there's something about former President Jonathan that is getting more alluring, getting more, more admirable, over time. Since he left office, there's just this aura statesmanship, around him. He says the right thing at the right time, even when they try to, rope him into the old "who will succeed Buhari" thing. He
I
kept
think
it dignified.
might be the X factor. When when you're in a relationship with someone, it looks like this is the worst thing, but then they go and then you get into another relationship and you start saying I miss that ex-person. But of course, I agree with you. He's definitely handling himself like a statesman. Yeah. Giving Nigeria the Nigerian citizens the right nudge he needs. And of course, with this statement that he's made talking about the smooth power transition, yes. Nigeria being fit to continue leading Africa's democracy.
Absolutely.
Definitely very wise words coming from the ex-president.
Yeah, because the significance of that gesture, if you tie that to the fact that he has even gone to congratulate President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the significance of it is that this is a genuinely a good-hearted man, somebody who had all the opportunities to at least attempt to remain in power, but he says that his ambition wasn't what the blood of any Nigerian, and that he was willing to leave and just move on with life. And he has moved on. Buhari has spent 8 years. Tinubu has started his own 4 years, and there he is always going to them and saying, "I wish you well." Let him walk. I think what he has said is even more important. Not just in congratulating Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but in also speaking to the political class to say that, hey, litigation is over. Let's have the president walk. Let's support him where we can, and where you can't, if you choose not to, don't rock the boat. Don't bring the roof down. Don't be needlessly cantankerous. So for me, as a leader in the main opposition party, former President Jonathan should be commended. The story on top of that lead says Justice Dasijo bemoans corruption in Judiciary as he retires. And the rider worries about absolute powers of CJN, which can only lead to corruption. This is not the first time that we'll have people on the bench, particularly the lordships of the Supreme Court, berating the CJN. It has happened, in recent past, even to the predecessor of the current CJN. But now we have somebody who will have been on, part of the justices that, determine the case for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but he's saying that, hey, so many things are not right. The CJN seems to have absolute power, and that it will not be good for the polity because the tendency for it to lead to corruption is there. I think that when justices like that retire at their age, at 70, after more than 40-something years on the bench, and they say things like this, we shouldn't take it lightly. We should attach all seriousness to the sort of advice, words of wisdom, suggestions that they are giving, so that the judiciary can be better for it. A lot of people had expressed, apprehension as to, all eyes on the judiciary kind of a thing. But here we are, not anybody on social media, not an analyst on TV, not a random lawyer, but somebody with almost 50 years of experience. On the bench, at the Supreme Court level, saying that things are not the way that they ought to be. We should take note.
Definitely.
And make amends. I think it is very important. All the stories are still...
looking at that picture, the
cover picture.
Cover picture, of course, a gathering of first ladies. I love it. Looking at the former First Lady of Nigeria, Dame Patience Jonathan, the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Oluremi Tinubu, and Ajoke, wife of the late former head of state, Murtala Mohammed, at the opening of a protocol and security seminar in Abuja on Thursday. I love to see this synergy.
That's a good picture.
Yes, even looking at the First Lady Oluremi Tinubu has really set herself as a leading lady. Definitely one of the highlights of her first few months in office is how she received our the female team when they had arrived back, and she had a reception for them, a service for them, and just really made them feel like they were national heroes. I really appreciated that she did that. And if you look at the top story over there, it says that the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz arrives in Nigeria tomorrow. Is here to attend. He'll be here to attend the Nigerian German Business Conference in Lagos. And they're expecting CEOs of about 30 top companies to be in entourage. According to a statement from the Embassy of Germany in Nigeria, the visit is to strengthen bilateral relations between Germany and the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So that's a good one.
That's a good one. The Chancellor of Europe's biggest economy visiting Nigeria with 30 CEOs of top companies in his entourage. I think that's a good way to begin to talk investment. It's not every time that that we only celebrate when our president goes and he goes with our own people, which is important. But then let's also have them. Let them see, let them see what they want to invest in. Who they'll be dealing with and everything. But this is an important one. It's a big deal, and I think that the Ashwaju team, the presidential media team, should also, even though it is not like, it's, Lagos things, the conference and everything, but it says quite a lot about the fact that the new government is looking in the direction of wooing the necessary people and investors to come to our side. Two more stories quickly before we move over to the Punch.
Yeah, very important one at the end. There were Ribadu. There won't be interference in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi gubernatorial polls. We could see
coming up on November the 11th.
Yes, we could see the Ribadu giving the assurance on Friday when he met with the INEC chairman Mahmoud Yakubu, alongside with the Commission's national commissioners and other members of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. And we could just hear the National Security Advisor reiterating, saying that the President Bola Tinubu, of course, is making sure and is committed to credible elections, and assuring that the INEC will have no interference in the off-cycle Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo governorship elections. Even though I know that it's most likely will still end up in court, but at least we are showing a sign of good faith this time around.
No, let's see what Bayelsa, for example, holds if Timipre Silva, does not run at the end of the day. Except Labour puts up a very good fight. It might look like Governor Doyediri, might have a smooth run, but we don't know. Let's wait and see. DSS transfers Emefiele to FCC for fresh scrutiny. It looks like the woes and troubles of the former CBN governor are not over. So, it's the way of the law. I'm sure that he will deal with it, and the law justice is what is important. And last but not the least, on the cover of this day, IG orders treatment of gunshot victims without police report.
I think that's a very good one.
Absolutely.
We've had multiple cases of persons that have been shot, injured, or even in an accident, and then they get to the hospital and they're not able to be attended to. But particularly in this situation of gunshot victims, you don't have to wait for a police report. A life lost a little too late doesn't prove anything. Even if the person, got that gunshot in funny circumstances, it's still the responsibility of the medical team to take care of that person, regardless of their status in society. Save that life first. Then you can now call in the police to make sure that they investigate, the reason behind the gun, the gunshot. So definitely a very good development there. Absolutely.
All right, we'll move on to the Punch, the Saturday Punch, where the lead story, big banner headline, Tinubu will work with Atiku. Obi says federal government, senior advocates of Nigeria, as hail Supreme Court, and the riders government planning national discourse on unity. That's the minister speaking there. And Jonathan, as we said earlier, visits Aso Villa. Ex-VP deserves rest, says aide. This is what is expected. Like we did say in our analysis earlier on, Tinubu will work with Atiku, Obi. I think what is important is if Atiku and Obi will work with Tinubu, and I think that beyond the fact that the president, has said that, hey, they try to derail me, they try to make me look bad, but we've got a country to run, and therefore he's saying that anybody that is ready for us to move the country forward, I'm here, waiting for you. Will Atiku, will Obi, but there to say that for the love of country, let us at least move on. Let us wait for another time. Even with your convictions about certain things still intact, let us wait for 2026, 2027 political and electionary season. So I think it is important. I believe that in the next couple of weeks or months, we will see a lot of movement from point and party A, B, C, D, to the ruling party. And like a few people have observed, to me, that if you recall when Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was governor of Lagos State, he had it rough at the beginning. Issues about his qualifications and stuff were part of the issues at that time. So much so that, if you recall at that time, 1999, 2000, people were not very, a lot of people were even, calling him names and everything. Part of Lagos was dirty. So many things not going very well. Armed robberies here and there. But then by the time he stabilized, things began to move in the direction of the Lagos of Jakonde, the Lagos of, all the other people that we knew. And then we saw many institutions, being, LASMA, LOMA, many things, send people abroad, go and find out how things are done. People are now saying that maybe this is what is happening. 5 months have gone. People are complaining here and there. Subsidy has been removed. Naira exchange to the dollar is crazy. Maybe all of a sudden, the Asiwaju magic may suddenly appear, or the strategies that he's known for, not just on the side of politics, but also on the side of economy. Maybe that's when we now know that the Lagos boys, can really roar. Your Wale Edun, your Dele Alaki, your Yemi Cardoso, all of them who did very well while they were in Lagos. Maybe, in a few months' time or something, star ministers will emerge, and then the Asiwaju magic will pick up. I mean, that's the hope. That's the hope. Let that hope be renewed, but at the same time, let the poor breathe, as we have said. Other stories on the cover of Punch, which a bit are similar to some of them to what we have seen in this day. CJN too powerful. 2 regions, exclusion from Supreme Court, dangerous. That's the retiring justice who also was well captured in this day. And the other important story, which is the guest that we're waiting for actually today, Nigeria's future bleak without restructuring. That's Afenifere, Ohaneze, others speaking. And Chief Emmanuel Iwanyawu is the president of Ohaneze. and we're hoping that he will still be able to join us before this program runs out or at some point, because it's an important development to X-ray and see why the four groups, Ohaneze, Pandef, Afenifere, etc., are saying that without restructuring, Nigeria can move forward. And they're also talking about the fact that Naira is falling at a rate that is not good for the health of the country and indeed the health of most Nigerians. So it would be nice to hear Chief Iwanyanwu speak on that, but the Punch captured it very well using the pictures of both Pa Adebanjo of Afenifere and that of Iwanya. When you know that before the election there was a handshake, across the two zones that led to the coinage of Ohaneze and Afenifere. At that point, we don't know if Ohaneze will still have a role to play in the sort of a thing that they agreed to on Thursday, but again, we're waiting for Chief Iwanyanwu so that they can...
just to add to that, their push for the federal government to restructure the country and enthrone the rule of enthrone true federalism as it was originally entrenched in the 1960 and 1963 constitutions. And they also added that without, just as it said here, that without that restructuring, the future of Nigeria will be bleak. And I think, having that conversation with him will really put things in perspective as to what certain sections of the country they believe have continually been marginalized. A number of states, even down to local government, and even in the appointments in the Federal Executive Council. So it's definitely a conversation that I'm looking forward to having, and I'm sure it will be sorted out. But a story that on this Saturday Punch that stands out to me is the patrons who bear the brunt as cart pushers overlook refuse and transform into robbers. Because we've had a situation where it was motorcyclists that they were using to carry out these robberies. You're in your car, they pull up right to your window, you think it's just somebody that is waiting for the traffic light to stop, and just before the light turns green they break the glass or do whatever and attack. But now what we're seeing is they have now diversified and started using cart pushers as we go into already in the Ember months. We're about to enter November and December, and that's where we see a spike in insecurity. We see a spike in kidnapping, in armed robbery. I think it's something that we Nigerian citizens need to pay more attention to. You need to be more you need to pay more attention to your surroundings and what's around you, because you never know the unique styles that these criminals tend to use to shake Nigerians down.
When you said that the story that struck you on the cover of Saturday Punch, I thought you were going to side with Hara, the female drummer who says here that many men can't manage famous female entertainers.
I agree with her.
You do agree with her?
Yes, I agree with her, yes.
Many men can manage.
They can't handle the fame. They can't handle the independence. They can't handle...
For entertainers or for celebs?
I think celebrities. I think females, alpha females that are in the spotlight. It's very difficult for a man that is secure in himself to handle that. And I'm speaking from experience. That alpha female will include ladies, on the tube too, in front of television. Yes. So that's where the experience comes in. I cannot fault you that. Before we leave the Punch, a quick story, last one to pick there. Court okays prosecution of suspended Adamawa wreck. And the story of this gentleman, this infamous Adamawa wreck who declared before the declaration. and took off at the time. I think that's what is right, so that people will not say that what happens when there are infractions and we know those who didn't do well. But I think that they should have their day in court. It shouldn't be perceived political enemies alone, or people who didn't support A or B, that their prosecution should be overly advertised. It's people like this too
should be used as an example and let the law decide on their fate. Which other paper should we take, Shaitan? Should we go up north? Daily Trust is there. Daily Trust. The lead story there says investigations and investigative peace. Nigeria's security forces deployed for peace accused of extortion, harassment. Soldiers maltreating us. Benue herders, farmers lament. Police compromise standard in Taraba, Kaduna. Army police deny allegations. I think that's an important investigative story, and all the areas were covered. Police and the army were given the opportunity to defend themselves, because it's quite a weighty allegation to have Nigeria security forces deployed for peace, have been accused for extortion and harassment, particularly in volatile areas like Benue, etc. I think that it shouldn't just stay with their denial, with the official denial from the authorities. It should also, there must be follow-up so that the media can let us know what is actually happening. The information minister here also says Tinubu's tough, painful reforms necessary for rebuilding Nigeria. I must say that we have not been hearing so much from the Minister of Information, who is actually a media person and a publisher of a newspaper. But again, these are early days. Maybe he's just trying to get his groove. And maybe in a while, he will be one of the star ministers that will define the Asiwaju presidency.
Very quickly, before we wrap up, I mean, this is a story that the entire world has been following. The Israel-Hamas war being stated that Gaza is being suffocated. Many will die soon, according to the United Nations. And the UNGA is calling for humanitarian ceasefire, because the truth is, when two giants fight, or when two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers.